Let's take a look at the search functionality. Search.php is the script that's going to actually display and perform the search. Search form is just going to take a field here called keyword, and then it passes it to this page. And what it does is it actually first highlights, using a function, highlights the actual keywords that are found in the data itself. And you can just take a look at this. This is using things that we're familiar with. The search term is the actual term that's passed in, and the full text is the text before we actually add a span. That's just a style that's going to change the background color for that search term, as you can see. And then we're just going to wrap it around that text and then replace it with regular expression. And then it's going to return the highlighted information. So it's a nice way to do that. It's just a function. So we can take that keyword here, and you can also work with the sort order if you want to. We don't do in this example, but if you want to add sorting, you can. It's ready to have that placed in there. We just have our SQL statement, and I'll explain that. And we echo it out. We connect to the database to grab the query. We return a certain number of rows. If there are no rows, it's going to output that there are no rows. You can do something much more robust than that. And otherwise, if there are rows that are greater than 0, the number of rows, then we're actually going to show the header, and there is sorting information added to the header, but it's not in place. It's just like a placeholder. We're dealing more with the data that's returned in this example. And you can see we have a while loop, a highlight color, based on whether or not the row is an even number or an odd number using modulus. This will return the remainder, and this is how you would do that. It's not like dividing it. You're actually going to get the remainder. 10 mod 3 is going to return a value of 1, because 3 times 3 is 9, and 10 minus 9 is 1. The remainder is 1. So we'll change the background color. Otherwise, it'll put it to a color that's gray here instead of the white. And then we just put the values from the fields from the database into our fields here. You don't even have to do that step. You could just do it all at once here using this particular syntax here below. And then we have the highlight search terms function here. And that's going to replace whatever is going to be placed in there. You can see that. These are going to be replaced. You don't have to do this broken out like this if you don't want to. It's 2 extra steps. You could combine it to eliminate it, but it's more clear for you this way. And those are the search fields. You can limit the fields that you want to search on as well. That's something you want to do. And here's the echo. And that's just going to be a part of that loop with the incrementing of I, and that's just going to be displayed there, as well as the edit and the delete customers. So that's how that's going to look. And you'll note that if we perform the search, you see the query up top right here. I'll talk about that. And you see what's highlighted here. We found George the address and George the first name. Now the SQL statement. Again, you don't have to have every field here, only the ones that you want. And notice that we have this syntax here, like. Like works similar to finding files on your hard drive. Percent is used here in SQL, but it could very well be an asterisk like you have when you do file searches. So that would have an asterisk to this side, so we would find anything that is prefixed with anything but contains George at the end. But if you have another one as well, then it's going to also include anything to the right if it's in a field. So George Street has space st dot, and that's going to match. You could use a percent on left and right, or just left or just right, as you wish, just like asterisk in file searching. So include only the fields that you want here. We're separating with an or, which means that it doesn't need to have every field that has something like George, just one of the fields. So the first name here, everything else doesn't, so that's going to come back. Just like if conditions in the logical operators, SQL just works a little bit differently, and it uses or and you can make some very, very complex statements here as well. So you can see past the actual field name and you're all set. So that's how searching works for the most part. You do want to watch out for SQL injection even in this query as well, but we don't do it just for an example.